how much water should I be drinking in Chinese medicine? What's healthy? In Chinese medicine, we think everything you take in requires energy to digest it or to process it. So you don't drink water and then it just gets weed out. Every time you urinate or every time you sweat, you're losing heat from your body, which is yang energy. Hey, welcome back to the Chinese Medicine Podcast. I'm Marie Hopkinson, and today we're going to be talking about how much water should I be drinking. If you're new to the channel, press the subscribe button if you like this video and help support the channel. You can also support the channel by using the promo code Marie when you go to Empirical Health to buy some mushroom products. I'll put the link in the description below. I did an interview with Dr. Simon Feeney, who owns Empirical Health, a while back, and you can check out that video on the channel to find out more about the mushroom products. But you can get a discount and we get some support when you buy from them. So thanks so much for asking this question, Lisa. How much water is appropriate for me to have in Chinese medicine? Now, I recently, after all my years of studying and practicing Chinese medicine, I recently went out and bought one of these this is a 2-litre water bottle. I've always hated seeing these from Chinese medicine because I feel like it's, like a miniature keg bottle. So I'll stop moving that around because it's just going to make a noise, a watery noise. So this is a really good question, and I'm going to give you a quick short answer. It's not going to be a long-winded video, but I will give you some explanation about why. So the short answer is, how much water should I drink? Well, you should drink about 1,800 mils to 2 litres a day for the average person. And more if you're sweating more. So if you're sweating more because you work outside and it's hot and sweaty, you live in a very humid environment, you are exercising a lot, or in the summertime, if it's hotter and you sweat more in summer, you can have more water. I would never encourage or promote people to restrict the amount of water they need. So if you feel thirsty and you need to drink that water, well, drink that water. Don't stop yourself from drinking water because you think, oh, it's unhealthy. But the concept is, I'm going to give you the Chinese medicine concept, and then I'll also explain other concepts that are out there about water drinking. So in Chinese medicine, we think everything you take in requires energy to digest it or to process it. So you don't drink water and then it just gets weed out as urine or sweated out as sweat. Sweat is considered in Chinese medicine like a lesser form of blood. It's a biological product. It's not water, right? Same as urine. Urine is a biological product. Now, you need water to stop yourself getting a urinary tract infection, for instance. Like if you don't have enough water, then your urine will be more concentrated with urea, which is the toxic part of it. And that's not good either. But every time you urinate or every time you sweat, you're losing heat from your body, which is yang energy. Yang is the force of what our body uses to do all of our biological processes. Yang is our life force. So yin and yang are two opposite ideas and functions, and really this water is pure yin. Whoops. This is pure yin. There's no yang in this water. So we do need that. And certainly out of all the drinks you could consume, water would be the best thing to drink. So if you drink a lot of soda and you drink coffee and tea and other things like that, and you're not drinking water, I would just definitely encourage people to drink water. However, when we say 1,800 mils, that includes the water that comes from other things, not just 1,800 mils of liquid that you need to drink. So I'm going to give you a few caveats or explanations within this concept because it's kind of a good way to understand how Chinese medicine thinks about our body. So every time you sweat, every time you urinate, you're losing yang. Now, if you're urinating many, many, many times a day, or especially many, many times at night, then that means that you're wasting energy. You're using your body as a machine. Now, this is very much the opposite to many health kick kind of things that are out there. I recently did a program called 75 Hard. I made a video on that. That's why I'm mentioning it, because I did it last year. Now, one of the things in that is that you have to drink a gallon of water a day, 3.75 litres of water a day. That is a lot of water. In Chinese medicine, it's like almost double, well, it's more than double the water that we would think is appropriate. Of course, in that program, you're exercising twice a day, so you're probably going to sweat more. Well, I did sweat more than I would have if I wasn't doing those 2 exercises a day. But I also did that 75 hard in spring times, and it was the cooler end of spring, so it wasn't really sweating as much as I could have been had I done it in summertime. So I did it as an experiment so that I could do the program properly, and also to see what that was like, because that was the first time in my life that I've ever drunk that much water, because I always just follow Chinese medicine. Like I love Chinese medicine so much, it's never failed me, so I just keep on doing it. And I really believe in these things. Like I've always it's not that you have to believe in it, but I've always found that it makes sense to me when you think about it. So I've always just gone along with it, and I've never thought, oh, maybe I'm missing out on my life not having all this water. So I have tried that method, and what I found is that, yes, for sure, I was urinating a lot more. Like sometimes urinating every hour, because you're just trying to force all that water down you. Now, what that does is it gets you into a habit of drinking more water, so you definitely feel more thirsty than if you weren't drinking the water. Oh, this talk about water is making me thirsty. I'm just thinking about water. It's definitely more healthy to drink water than drink other things. So if you're struggling with weight and you're on a diet and they're saying drink water, and you're like, oh, but Marie said don't drink that much water. Sometimes these diets work because you're filling up on water and then you're eating less crap that you would normally have. And if that's happening for you, I wouldn't stop the water drinking if that's the case, because if it means that you're having less alcohol, if it means that you're having less sugar, just even less food for some people that need to lose weight, that could be very beneficial. So I wouldn't dismiss the benefit in that way. If you're drinking so much water that you're now needing to urinate at night time, then there's a problem there. Now, that was the thing I was watching out for when I was doing this 75 hard, because I was thinking, right, I'm going to do this properly. And the first, I'll be a bit personal, like I'm not, you don't talk about my personal stuff on this, but I did this as an experiment so I could kind of observe it. The first 1 or 2 nights, I think it must have been the one or two nights, maybe because I wasn't used to doing it, and I had to guzzle a lot of water before the end of the day, literally before I went to bed to reach the quota. I had to get up in the night to urinate. But after that, for the rest of the 75 days, I didn't. So that's a good sign, right? That's a good sign that, okay, I wasn't over drinking for my body. And I certainly think that's very unhealthy if you were not doing that before, and then you just drink so much water that's what's waking, like you are having to wake up to empty your bladder. There's a problem there. There's too much water. Many people wake up in the night and then they go to the toilet because they're awake, right? So that's different than being awoken by the need to use your bladder. So that's one thing to be aware of. And so this idea that you're wasting energy by making your body into a machine doesn't just apply to water, it applies to everything that you do. So in a general sense, we should try to conserve what we have and what we need, so that we're just having less rather than needing to do more. Now, let me explain that properly in an example. For instance, if you're overweight, you now need to exercise way more than you would have if you weren't overweight, just to get to a normal size. And if you got overweight, you obviously ate more than you needed to get to that size. So you've had to produce fat cells that you don't need. And so that's wasting energy. So all of these ideas are kind of like rooted in the idea of, well, if we just didn't overdo things, we wouldn't need to overdo things. Like if you didn't overdo it with the food, you wouldn't need to overdo it with the exercise. And when you overdo it with the exercise, then you need to overdo it with the water, because you're sweating so much that you need to replenish it with more water. Bearing in mind also that Chinese medicine observes a very seasonal approach to life. So there's some seasons where you should do more exercise and some where you shouldn't do as much, and all that kind of stuff. So that's important. But in general, about 1,800 mils to 2 litres a day would be the optimal amount of water to drink. And in general, we'd say just drink as much as you need. Don't force yourself to drink just because it's there or just because you think it's healthy. That's the general principle. Now, some people forget to drink water and they don't even drink a litre a day. Or they filled up on a lot of other liquids, coffee, sodas, sugary things. If you're just having green tea with nothing else in it, like not sugary green tea or sweet, artificial sweetened things, or even herbal tea, I think that's probably better than all the other things I've mentioned. So that's still could be part of that liquid. I know that a lot of doctors that I met in China, that when I was working in the hospital, they would have a big giant jar about this big with tea, and they would just keep filling it up, put the tea leaves in at the start of the day, and just keep filling that up with hot water, and that would probably be about a 500 ml jar. They'd use these old Nescafe jars that I'd see, or a big flask, and refill that a few times. So if you really don't like the taste of water, then that would be a healthier way to consume water without artificial flavours. Like tea's it's not artificial if you're just using green tea leaves, right? So hope this has been useful and helpful to you. It's answered your question. So really everything's in moderation, and think about those processes that we do, sweating and urinating and defecating. They are all using energy to do that. So you want to minimize the times that you're doing that. You don't want to be doing that too regularly let's just say unnecessarily. Now, if you are finding yourself super thirsty, like you're like, wow, I'm just so thirsty, and there's no reason for that thirst. Like if you go for a run, yeah, you should be thirsty, right? If you sweat, you should be thirsty. But if you're just like, man, I'm so thirsty,
these pretzels are making me thirsty,
like for no reason, there could be another health problem going on there. And that would be something that, certainly with a practitioner, when we ask you questions, that's something that we usually ask about. Do you feel thirsty? And in Chinese medicine, there's correlations between if people feel thirsty for gulps of water or they feel thirsty for sips of water. Like if you have a fever, there's usually thirst associated with that fever. And if there isn't thirst and you've got a fever, or you've got like a post-viral problem, like you've had a fever or you had a virus and you've still got a sore throat and things like that, and you do have thirst or don't have thirst, that's very indicative of certain different kinds of patterns and the need for different types of treatment. Like certain herbs would be used or wouldn't be used based on those circumstances. So your practitioner's going to ask you those questions about thirst for those kinds of reasons. But in general, to keep yourself healthy, you want to stick to about 1,800 mils, 2 litres of water a day. Please don't starve yourself of water. If you are feeling thirsty and you're like, oh, I've got a drink, just have what your body needs in that case and go and see a practitioner so that you can get that stuff sorted out. Very wary about telling people with water drinking, for instance, that you shouldn't drink, like you should drink less than what you are drinking, because you might be drinking that much because you need to. But certainly just having a massive water bottle and just chugging that down for no reason, there isn't a healthy correlation to that in Chinese medicine. So I wanted to give the example of the 75 hard because that's a very common thing that trainers use and lots of people, and there are reasons for that. To be hydrated is good, but they see that frequent urination as a good thing, whereas in Chinese medicine we don't see that frequent urination as a good thing. So that's just how it is. Welcome to another episode of That's Just How It Is in Chinese medicine. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about it, you can also check out the courses that I do. I'll put a link to that below. And I also do online consultations for people. Recently I've had some people contact me saying, oh, I didn't know that you did that. So I do that. I do personal consultation, in-person consultations in my clinic with my patients as well. If you're in Perth, Western Australia, but if you're not, I do these things online via Zoom. You can book an appointment with me at the link below. You can just go to my patients page, and there's a spot there for online initial or subsequent ones. If you've come and seen me before online, you can book a repeat one like that. So happy New Year, happy Chinese New Year, Gong Si Fa Zai, and I hope that all your dreams come true. Thank you.